working class people, college students, people that were trying to do something and affect change. Am I correct?
Right, right. That's what you're talking about. You're talking about a wide gamut of individuals. And one of the things I have learned from my studies and looking back in the past is that people tend to people who just concentrate on just their meal don't have the time to start to think about what needs to be done the next week, the next year, and where African people are going to be in the next 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. So the average person that works in a plant or doing 40 hard hours, 50 hard hours, is not normally in the leadership of the various movements that we find ourselves. We found on the campuses, the students that, or individuals who were going to school during the time had played a tremendous role in regards to boosting the whole movement atmosphere in this whole country. And then their particular contributions had a lot to do with waking the everyday person up and helping them to see the need to become active in that of trying to change society. And so we also, as an offspring from a lot of this activity that was taking place, became involved in the movement in that of people asking us questions like, are you black? And initially during that time, people was hostile, and African people was hostile to even wanted to be referred to as black. They wanted to be considered Negroes or Negroid people. And so even the challenge of self-identity became an issue. And those issues became fundamental basis for us developing greater friendship among ourselves to become more active in the movement. The challenge, the question of the poverty that existed, the challenge, the crime situation that exists, the drug situation that exists, the kind of brutality that was taking place against women. Those became issues that we felt that we needed to correct, and one way that we could the one way we could correct it was by being active and taking a lead in doing it instead of depending on someone else to do it.
Now, as things develop, Mark, somewhere along the line, Mark met with his cousin, Casey Brown, down from Florida, developed an idea that they had to take correct action. How did that develop?
Well, okay, what happened is that Mark and John Henderson and myself, when the three of us used to be together, there was a period, a long period of time where every time we would read the Chronicle newspaper here locally, there was always situations of people being victimized by Europeans as well as by African people as far as carrying out crimes. And so the situation of seeing in front of us constantly the African community deteriorating is always and was always an issue with Mark IBO. And so it wasn't that he now became overnight he decided to do such things. It was something that as he became militant and looking at the solutions, that was a real solution that he had saw in front of him. And from day one, we were always the issue was always being raised on what can we do to correct the situation in regards to moving on, taking stronger actions in regards to some of his commitments.
How did Mark Bethune and his cousin Haley Brown decide to take that action against drug dealers to another level?
Okay, what I was the situation of what basically took place. It wasn't like he came to the realization at that point that he needed to take action doing drug dealers overnight. My experience of working with Mark for 2-3 years was that every time we saw a chronicle, we would read about a woman who had just been raped by someone in the community. We read about more dope houses being busted by the police. We could see all around us the question of people being plagued with the kind of crime, the drug situation, the question of how people could not raise the kind of capital they need as far as their income to survive. And there was a constant need for taking control of our own destiny. And what happened is that a number of situations I can recall Mark coming over my house and raising the issue about, here's another African woman raped. Let's go out and get that individual, and then um, point out to them, or really chastise the individuals for the act that they did. And at one point, or a number of times, we really thought about doing that a lot, and then we realized that we couldn't. Every time we read the Chronicle and saw somebody had been victimized, we could not go out and talk about policing those particular individuals. That the situation had to be on a larger level. So we did not commit ourselves to doing that because of that. Now, what happened is, after a while, Mark moved on to another frontier, and me and John went other directions in regards to our political activities, and that's when Mark ended up getting with Haywood Brown and Percy Board, and then they went on and took their beliefs, which they had a long time ago, to another level in regards to actually attempting to close down a dope house. And after that one shootout, that just put them on the wow in regards to that 80-something day manhunt for them that ended up taking place, which ended up being the last of his life in regards to him being killed.
You know how they take the first purpose to attack the person. Are you aware of what happened? How they decided? How was it fit?
No, I'm not aware of that, so I can't respond to that. And then
The line for us in the precinct the drug taking control of
well, I don't know anything about whether or not the 10th precinct controlled the drug trafficking. My history in regards to any drug situation in this particular city and around the country is that the drug situation was basically controlled by the mafia, and what would happen is that they were always successful enough to hire and put people on their payroll, whether or not it was judges, whether or not it was police officers. Whether or not the police officers were actually in control was a different thing. Whether or not they were participating in regards to giving assistance is altogether a different situation. I would probably say that they were giving assistance, being paid off to support, give shelter to the particular people that were selling the drugs in the particular area. But I can't go into whether or not how much control individuals in one precinct would have vis-a-vis another. Or
Now, you still have a relationship with Mr. Bethune after the hit on the first house?
well, what happened is that at a stage when Mark broke away from our particular organization, then he started moving to a different level. And it wasn't like he came to me to let me know or anyone else know his particular plans in regards to what he was going to do. And when I found out about what he had did, I said it was good that he had took it to another level, but at the same time I realized that any positive situation like that, you also had a negative situation. And the negative situation is that nobody's going to read what you did as being positive. And at that point, immediately after that situation, he had to go into hiding, and that caused him tremendous stress in regards to being in hiding, because regardless of whether or not you do something for positive reasons, it don't necessarily always turn out that way.
Okay, now he didn't. He went as three of them went as themselves when attacking the drug house. That is, people knew who they were.
Well, it's been brought forward that when people who were around various drug houses at the time, or a lot of the information even Winnie talked about in her book, was that people knew that the three individuals, they referred to them as the bad boys, or the big, or the 3 Bs, because they somehow knew their names were all, like Haywood Brown, Percy Boyd, Mark Bethune. They knew their names. Now, I don't know whether or not they went in and identified themselves, but some various reasons, whatever it was, their names became aware, and it got to the point where they was being referred to as the bad boys, referring to the B's in their name, or the 3 Bs.